Hello there everyone and welcome back to Napoleon Total War. This time we're looking at the Pike and Shot mod. As per the vote we had over here on YouTube, what should be my next Total War campaign? The Pike and Shot mod won the vote. However, as you might have noticed if you were checking in on that vote regularly, is that the actual creator of the mod reached out and commented in the comment section saying the mod wasn't ready for a proper campaign, and since he said that, I took the liberty to reach out to him and spoke with him a little bit more, and from what we concluded was that I should still kind of test it out, but that it would be best to leave an actual campaign for a later, more finished version. There's too many crashes. There's too many other things that he didn't feel he was ready with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a few custom battles in it, just to show off a few things. But we will then go ahead and take the runner-up choice and do a campaign in that instead. And so we'll hold off on the Pike and Shot campaign until such point that he is ready for, or he thinks it's okay for me to do more of, or there is more of a, like, it won't be such a difficult time to, you know, me doing a campaign in a broken version that the mod creator does not even think is ready. With that said, we have a custom battle right ahead of us. It is a kind of an English Civil War one. I decided to take two more or less exact armies facing each other of the English. There's a lot of different nations. I'm gonna go through a few of them, but today what we're gonna look at is kind of an English Civil War one. So if we start over on the left, what we have here is the Harquebusiers. Got a little bit longer range because of course they got kind of these long-barreled muskets, or Harquebusiers of course is what they've got. So a little bit longer range. Then we've got these cuirassiers, kind of look like what's it called, cavalier kind of troops with those hat. Fire pistols, shorter range. So there we have those. If we continue forward here, then we come into the actual Pike and Shot. So here we've got the Earl of Northampton's regiment, looking like this: green, red pants, and then armored, and next to them we've got the Shot troops, the matchlock infantry lined up here. Next to them we've got the Earl of Newcastle, so a mixture of kind of tan, orangey pants with blue, but the general color is white for these guys, with red for the officers. Another musket unit, another Earl of Newcastle troop. Then we've got cannoneers set up here. I should say the enemy has more or less the exact same army. They have a bit of different in terms of pikemen they field, but otherwise the same. We've got the general unit back here. The general here, I always reminded of the Disney's Pocahontas, that the evil governor, and he's got that black armor, and he looks he has kind of a, well, he has kind of a big head, but the armor kind of builds quite a lot on him and his shoulders and stuff, so it always reminds me of him. As we go through, we've got the Earl of Essex Pike Regiment, all in orange. And then we've got another one of those, and then another Northampton regiment. And furthest out here we've got a unit of pistoliers. Look very much like the Harquebusiers, but of course these guys carry pistols then. We'll see how they fare in battle. And furthest out here we've got the Ironsides. Not too familiar with the English Civil War, but I imagine these are like special... not necessarily that these units are set up for the English Civil War, but that's what's come to mind when you think about the 1600s Pike and Shot, isn't it? Anyway, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start the fight. So the enemy is across here. The interesting thing I've seen here is that the AI will actually kind of do pike and shot formation, or they keep marching in this kind of formation where we have matchlocks here, and then pikes kind of in a square with sort of like the tercio, the terrico, or however you want to pronounce it, the Spanish situation with pikes. These guys got Huguenot, so French Protestant pikemen. They also have heavy pikemen. They have Lord Brooks pikemen, blue and yellow. Looks very nice. And that's about it. Otherwise they have the same type of army, and we're going to see about clashing here in the middle. So I've arranged either side in a grouping, but I think as a whole we'll go ahead and switch everyone to single grouping and then advance that on the enemy. And then once we get closer to range, I think we're gonna fight over the road here. So I think I'll advance to about this point, and we'll see how it goes from there. So it's definitely not the first time that people have suggested kind of an unfinished mod, and it's ended up winning. We did the Italian unification mod, which certainly was very sparsely modded, to say the least, but I still did it. And in this case, we'll see. As far as so far, I haven't actually tested the campaign, but I've read a little bit about it, read a little comments and stuff, that it is like you're limited in the ways you're able to declare war on people and stuff like that. Like it's very heavily based on events, whether or not war is declared and so on. And there seems to be a lot of problems around that. So we might be within cannon range. I know the cannon range was reduced for quite a bit of cannons. So okay, so it's very reduced. Okay, it's here. Okay, so that's very reduced cannon range, seemingly. Because at this point we can fire to about the road. We'll set up here and we'll prepare. Now, 2 lines of cannon might work in Empire. It certainly won't work in Napoleon. So we're gonna have to make some room here. As most of the enemy army is actually on the right, we might want to switch up. Quite a lot of troops end up on the right. Or what we'll do, as we're now reaching the conclusion of our advance here, is that we'll take this side, make it into its own grouping, this side, make it into its own grouping, the rest break their grouping. We'll take these extra cannons, we'll bring them up on the left, and then the left grouping will extend and move forward together with the cavalry towards the road. And so we'll set up the cannons there. The reserve matchlocks will stay behind the cannons together with the general. And I want to ride up and start harassing the enemy troops, but I don't want to start the battle until we're ready. I don't want to start us getting attacked by heavy cavalry while we're still forming up our army. So the enemy is at an angle, meaning that I'll take heavy attacks on the right flank, which means that we need to push in the left one as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and deploy these, as they're just about to come within range of our artillery here. It's going to take a while for these guys to get in position. I might actually tell them to run. Although, I think it's one of those mods where it's encouraged to march troops everywhere because they get tired quickly. so we don't want to run the troops too much. Looks like there's some movements of fast movements of cavalry on the enemy side. We'll deploy the second part of the battery, and also given the way they've moved up, we're gonna have the second group move even further on the flank here, with the cavalry moving up to the side. I think the arquebusiers are the ones that will be the most useful, because they can fire kind of on the run. So I want to set them up, and I want to start skirting at the enemy and start harassing them. We are receiving fire from the enemy. I'm holding the fire of the musketeers because I want to fire at close range. We got enemy pistoliers closing in on this side. I'm gonna detach my own pistoliers to move in to deal with them. Currently it looks like they're charging straight into the Earl of Essex and his pikemen. My pistoliers setting up in the flank. Oh, they're broken and even shattered upon that. Okay, so we've got quite the different sort of... oh, they sent in their cuirassiers as well. I kind of want the pistols to fire. Seems that the pistols are kind of... they need to be stationary to fire the pistols, which is not something that you want because just of the short range of the pistoliers. So it's better than if they were to be firing similar to how the so the musketeers or dragoons fire in the game. Okay, so we got their iron sides fighting our iron sides. Heavy morale loss on both sides. Let's see if we can't get some pistol shooting in here. So we've got the two iron sides clashing with each other. Morale is poor on both sides. Looks like we have a slight advantage. Can I get you? Oh no! The enemy fired their pistols and arquebusiers. Although it seemed to have done nothing because they shot about the same amount of their own as they shot of ours. But okay, so we got the enemy to fire their pistols, but I didn't actually get my men to fire their pistols. That's great. Let's see if we can't get some pistol shots off here. So I definitely wish that the cavalry units were to fire on the move, so you don't have to stop just because it takes time, and you're gonna have the enemy line up, and right, the musketeers are now able to fire on us before we are able to fire at them, and of course there's more of them, meaning we'll take quite a few casualties, like the cuirassiers here, my quote-unquote cavaliers getting murdered before they're able to fire their pistols. Plus, of course, pistols are not nearly as good as muskets. We're gonna have the musketeers fire off their guns at the enemy. So it's mostly matchlock guys coming up here, but we want to meet the enemy's heavy pikemen before they sort of rummage through the lines. Okay, so with that, second line should advance across the field with the pikes, or with the cavalry I should say. Our pikes are now striking in, so we got heavy enemy pikemen versus Newcastle pikemen. It's quite an even fight right now. Here comes the second one. Earl of Newcastle smashing in to Lord Brooks. There's a lot of enemy musket fire. Oh, this unit is about to crumble. The general needs to come over to hold that. I'm gonna move those guys in. Let's have our arquebusiers charge in, try and get rid of that, and these guys to charge in over there. Move, damn you, move! So the general's coming in here to support his men. It's going so-so for Newcastle pikemen. A secondary line is moving in though. Let's see. The Pistoliers and the Ironsides can move up on the flank here, deal some damage to the enemy. In the long run, I don't think our men will hold in this fight. I'm quite surprised that they've held for as long as they have. I'm gonna go ahead and inspire this one just so he holds. Musketeers.
Our men are running, sir.
Ah, look at that. Our Arquebusiers won that fight. I'm gonna just charge them straight in. Okay, this part of the line will hold, but the pikemen will continue on towards the enemy. We've got the Pistoliers firing pistols, the Ironsides fighting with the enemy general. Got one of our pike units retreating, but I've got more being sent forwards. So the units, in terms of morale, they do not have a lot of it. That's what I'm trying to say here. Continue forward. Okay, so the pikes making their charge against the musketeers. I think it's our own cannons firing into this. That's the enemy, the Huguenot pikemen. Who's running now? It's 2 cavalry units. Probably cavalry on this side. I'm gonna charge in my cavalry just to upset the troops on this side. Maybe not the greatest to charge into pikemen, but it's to hold them off long enough for the rest of my troops to set up. It's actually going okay. My pikemen here are holding anyways. But a lot of other of my pike units, not so much. We still retain a large part of our cannons. And we do have plenty of these musketeers. I'm gonna bring this one over. And what I think we're gonna do with this one is, well, since it's all loaded, he should be ready to do kind of a fire in advance, which would look cool. So we're gonna go into fire in advance mode. I don't know how deep it is to have a continuously rolling advance, but we'll go with, what is that, 6, 7 men, and we'll have that move forward, move to within range, and then we'll have these quickly kind of just switch positions here.
Sir, our general is under attack.
Oh, we're under heavy attack of our musketeers on this side. Let's have our cavalry charge their cannons, and let's see how our fire in advance will work. First line fire theirs. Second line move up. They're gonna fire. Third. I wonder if this line will be ready once the last one moves through. In this case, it actually looks like it will work out. I don't know what the best number of troops would be to do this, so that the last unit would be ready. At this point, there's a few that aren't ready, but we might get to a point where, okay, now they're retreating back. You're supposed to advance. Like, that's the entire thing. Now you're back where you started, and there's no fire coming from you guys. I'm gonna switch the cannons to canister. Okay, it was cool while it lasted, but now you're back at where you started, which isn't that cool. So there's still quite a few enemy troops left out there. Second line moving up. Yeah, definitely doesn't work as well as I thought it would. Cannons out here might not reach. They do actually reach. We're blasting the enemy. You're out of shot.
One of our units has used all its ammunition, sir.
It's time. The enemy is about to break, I think. My general charges in, catches the Huguenot pikemen off guard, and it might be enough. It might be enough to break the morale. It did break the morale. With a huge rout
victory,
of the enemy's troops in the center. And the general keeps charging on. What we have left is heavy pikemen over here. My pistoliers firing on them. Would be cool if they actually carried like 2 pistols. One on each side. Not that they would carry like some sort of action hero, have one in each hand as they were firing, but that they would have, of course, in these pouches, they would carry a pistol in each, and so they would be able to fire more rapidly. And then just move away once the enemy got close. Okay, so I think we're actually out of ammo for 2 of these units. Are actually out of ammo, yeah. Move to the back and stop that silly fire in advance. And then we can see about... oh, the enemy has rallied, have they? Cannon switched to round shot. We'll see about these setting up. And preparing a close range volley on those pikes. With the pistoliers set up by the flank. And then we might have the general right back here. So let's see how this works. They've actually regained quite a bit of morale here. But it seems like they're weak to morale shock. Like it's enhanced, the way morale shocks work in this mod is enhanced compared to normal. I don't want my musketeers to fire at this guy, I want them to fire at something coming down the center, like enemy matchlock infantry. And then the pistoliers dealing damage to these heavy pikemen. The general riding in from the flank, causing panic, and then these guys coming from the front. And then they'll go through and go for Lord Brooks' pikemen. Which would have done well if they had held their position. But they did not. So we are victorious. Bloody battle, to say the least. I think if you really figure out how to use the morale shocks, you can see the enemy run before you. I should have said, if I had more cavalry in the main break when the general rode through, we would have won the battle there, and we wouldn't have this small second attack on our position. With that, we're not going to end it just yet, because we need to see the statistics of this battle, right? We want to see who killed who, because everyone more or less died, as we can tell from the heaps of pikes lying dead here. Here's the result of the battle, and it turns out that I actually deployed about 60 men more than the enemy. I mean, that's not a big difference. In terms of losses, we both lost about the same amount of men. There's about a 400 men difference. the enemy seem to have killed about 100 of their own, while I only killed about 80 of my own. So that's unusual, to say the least, especially that I had my cannons firing throughout. Let's see, who's the highest killers? It's actually the Pistoliers. I'm quite surprised about that. They were fighting all the way to the end. Then I'm also surprised to find the pikemen here. I thought the pikemen just went in and slaughtered each other with not much gain. They definitely lost more than they killed, but also they held out to the very end, at least these Earl of Newcastle. I think it because the general was close to these units. These were the ones situated on the right flank, I believe. So that's why. Cuirassiers also hold out and kill quite a lot of them. And then pikemen. General's bodyguard, no surprise he was able to chase down a lot of them. Then comes an artillery to 100. But there's no one here that really like knocks it out of the park unless you count the Pistoliers. But they're able to chase down a lot of enemies. In terms of just killing, matchlock infantry, not a lot. Ooh, this one did really poorly. Only 12 men shot. 40 men lost. Could this be the last unit? The one that I deployed as fire in advance? Could that be it? Could that be the last unit? That's why he only killed 12. So fire in advance. Not only did not properly work, it was kind of useless as well. But there we have that. So I'll go ahead and do a few other battles in this to satisfy your need for pike and shot warfare. But in terms of a campaign, looks like we're holding off on this one. With that said, I'll say as I always say, hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.
Our men are running, sir. Glorious victory, sir, is soon to be yours.